What if I told you that before human history began, before kings, nations, or even the concept of time, there were wars so vast, so destructive, that they rewrote existence itself? Battles where gods fell, monsters rose, and the sky itself bled. From Norse legends to the sands of Egypt, every civilization remembers one truth: creation was never peaceful. It was forged in war. Today, we march through myth and time, into 10 of the most legendary battles ever fought by gods and heroes. Picture an old king, Harald Wartooth of Denmark, half-blind, body failing, but still burning for glory. He knows death is coming, but to die in bed is to rot in the cold shadows of Niflheim. To fall in battle, however, is to feast in Valhalla. So he sends word to his nephew, King Sigurd Hring of Sweden, with a final outrageous request: meet me in battle and let the gods decide my end. For 7 long years both kings prepare. Armies of 200,000 gather. Steel is forged. Oaths are sworn. When dawn breaks over the field of Bravelir, Harald rides first, ancient and unstoppable, wielding a sword in each hand, cutting through ranks of men half his age. 40,000 fall before the sky darkens with crows. Then, in the storm of war, Odin himself descends to claim Harald's soul. When Sigurd learns his uncle has fallen, he halts the battle, builds a funeral pyre, and sets it aflame. Harald's horse is led into the fire beside him, so they may ride together into eternity. Before Asgard was united, there were 2 tribes of gods: the Aesir, proud, warlike rulers, and the Vanir, mystical gods of nature and magic. Peace turned to chaos when a Vanir goddess, Freya, came among the Aesir. Under the name Hyder, she taught them the forbidden arts of cedar, powerful magic that twisted fate itself. But the Aesir grew afraid of what they'd learned. They turned on her, burned her alive 3 times, and 3 times she rose from the ashes. That act of betrayal ignited divine war. Thunder split the heavens. Spears rained like hail. For years, neither side could claim victory. So they made peace, not from forgiveness but exhaustion, trading hostages and uniting their bloodlines. From that uneasy truce, the Norse pantheon we know today was born. Far from Olympus, on the dusty plains of Attica, the earth trembled beneath the feet of an army unlike any other: the Amazons. Warrior women, trained since childhood, their lives were a hymn to battle. They came to Greece not as conquerors, but as vengeance made flesh, striking back after the death of their queen, Antiope. Athenians carved their defiance into marble, the Amazonomachy, sculpted scenes of women clashing with men, of grace meeting brutality. Even Heracles faced their might during his 9th labor, when he sought the golden girdle of Hippolyta, queen of the Amazons. On temple walls he shone grasping an Amazon by the hair, his club raised. Yet even in defeat, their legend endured, fierce, fearless, and free. According to ancient Roman historian Jordanus, there was once a time when Egypt marched north, not for trade or tribute, but to conquer the Gothic tribes. King Vasosus led the charge, his banners blazing under the desert sun. But the Goths, led by King Tanausis, met them at the river Phasis. The battle raged for days, sand turning to mud, spears breaking against shields. When Vasosus faltered, Tanausis struck, driving the Egyptians back across the sands. Had it not been for the walls and waters of the Nile, Egypt itself might have fallen that day. Denied his final victory, Tanausis turned east, carving his conquests across Asia, a mortal king with the ambition of a god. Long before the First Dynasty, when China was still a land of wandering tribes, 2 great leaders rose: the Flame Emperor, Yandi, and the Yellow Emperor, Huangdi. Their people clashed over fertile lands and dwindling resources until war became inevitable. At Bangquan, the sky filled with arrows and rivers ran red. The Yellow Emperor's troops fought with cunning, using chariots and strategy unknown to the Flame tribes. In the end, Yandi fell, and the tribes united under Huangdi's banner, giving birth to the ancestors of all Han Chinese people. It was not just a victory of war, but the forging of a nation. You know this story, but not like this. It begins not with a battle, but a promise, made by the goddess Aphrodite to a mortal prince named Paris. She promised him the most beautiful woman alive, Helen of Sparta. When he took her, he set fire to 1,000 ships. For 10 years, Greece besieged Troy. Heroes like Achilles and Hector became legends, while the gods themselves chose sides. But the war's end came not through strength, but deceit, a gift horse large enough to hide the downfall of a city. When the gates closed and the Trojans slept, the Greeks emerged from within, and Troy burned until the dawn. Before Ireland became the Emerald Isle of saints and scholars, it was a land of magic and monsters. The first invaders were the people of Partholon, who met the island's dark inhabitants, the Fomorians, twisted sea demons led by Tsikol Grisenchos. Their clash became the Battle of Magitha, the first war ever fought on Irish soil. Some say no blood was spilled, that the battle was fought with spells and storms, not swords. Others claim Partholon's warriors slaughtered the Fomorians, driving their kind to the sea. Whichever version you believe, one truth remains. It marked the beginning of Ireland's mythic wars, a cycle of conquest, magic, and destiny. In Hindu epics, the universe is a battlefield, forever torn between light and shadow. On one side, the Devas, gods of creation, purity, and order. On the other, the Asuras, beings of ambition, desire, and chaos. Their wars shaped the cosmos. Mountains were hurled like weapons. Oceans boiled with celestial fire. The Devas wielded divine weapons, the thunderbolt of Indra, the discus of Vishnu, while the Asuras unleashed armies of demons. Each victory was temporary, each defeat a lesson. Because in the end, these stories were never about good defeating evil, but about the eternal balance between them. Before Zeus ruled Olympus, there were the Titans, colossal beings who once shaped the world. Their king, Kronos, devoured his children to prevent a prophecy that one of them would overthrow him. But his wife, Rhea, hid their youngest, Zeus, and fed Kronos a stone instead. When Zeus grew, he forced Kronos to vomit up his siblings, and together they waged war on the Titans. For 10 years, thunder split the heavens. The gods fought from Mount Olympus, the Titans from Mount Othrys. It was only when Zeus freed the Cyclopes and Hecatonchirus, monstrous allies with 100 hands, that the war turned. The Titans fell, bound in chains and cast into Tartarus, as Olympus rose above the ashes of their reign. And now, the end of all things. The Norse called it Ragnarok, the doom of the gods. It begins with endless winter. Wolves devour the sun and moon. The seas boil as the Midgard serpent rises, and the fire giant Surtur sets the sky ablaze. Odin rides to battle, knowing he is doomed. Thor faces the serpent, kills it, then takes 9 steps before collapsing, poisoned. Fenrir, the monstrous wolf, breaks his chains and swallows the Allfather whole. The world burns, mountains crumble, even the gods fall silent. But, from the ashes, a green earth will rise. 2 humans will awaken, and life will begin again. Because even in destruction, there is rebirth. Across cultures and centuries, one truth echoes through every myth. Creation demands chaos. Order is born from fire. These were not just stories of gods and heroes. They were reflections of us, our struggles, our wars, our desire to rise again after the storm. So, when you hear thunder, maybe it's not weather. Maybe it's the sound of the old wars, still echoing across eternity.